recording. Oh, sorry. So it wasn't recording that. So yeah, so the water agent has a bunch of features. It was designed to speed up programming for the Control4 dealer. It allows you to very quickly install a water valve and water sensors and link them all together. And then we looked at Flow by Moen last year, and they provide pressure measuring and some other really awesome tools and events. And so we basically incorporated the water agent into the Flow by Moen. So to get started, I'm going to start with the water agent. So we're going to add in the water agent here. And in this project, I already have a CNS or Dammit Zigbee water valve set up, and I already have one Zigbee water sensor from Dammit. So we're going to go to the Connections tab, and we're going to click on the water valve, and we're going to bind it to that water valve. And then we're going to go to each of the contacts or each of the water sensors, and we're going to connect those in. Notice how there isn't an extra water sensor to connect to this next one. If you click off and click back on again, you'll see that it pops up automatically. So at this point, we've connected 2 water sensors and the valve into the Control4 system. So we'll click, here is the icon. If I double click,
attention, water has been turned off.
So you can see very quickly, you can give your customers a simple on-off control of their water valve and get in and out of the house pretty quick for that. So I'm going to trip the Zigbee water sensor right now.
Attention, water agent has detected a leak from CNS kitchen fridge water.
So what happened there was it read the name of the sensor and stubbed that in as the name of the water sensor that broke. So you can see here that a Control4 dealer can get in and out pretty quick and give their customer a pretty all-encompassing water system. So turn the water back on, you double tap. Oops. So, and now the water's back on. So that's kind of the basics of the water agent and what it can provide. So if you're using a leak smart water valve system, or if you're using the Dammit CNS system, both of those are going to work well with this application. So with that, I'm going to move into the Flow by Moen program. So first thing we're going to do is go Flow by. And it's 2 drivers. There's a master cloud driver, and then there is a flow water shutoff valve for each flow you have in the house. You can have, I don't know if there's a limit to how many flows you can have in the house. I know of at least one customer that has 8 of them in a house, and it's working there just fine. So if that gives you some reassurance on that. So let's add in the Flow by Moen master, and then put it into the right room. And then here, you're going to type an email address. So one of the things that we at Cinegration spent a great deal of time was really securing and locking down our app development. And so one of the ways we did that was we moved the username and password inserting of OAuth outside of the driver. And so the cool thing about this is if the customer changes their password in the future, the server automatically detects that and sends the customer a new authorization re-email. Thus, you don't have to get a phone call, every couple months when the customer changes their password or not, and have to resync the Control4. It took a bit of time to get that going, but we think that's a pretty cool feature for you to sell to your clients. So I'm going to type in our email address, and then the email is going to come in. So the email comes in. It looks something like this. And then let's go ahead and click it. And then you're going to authorize our communication to have access to the basic information and to turn on and off the pipes. So you're going to hit accept. And at that point, you're now done. The driver is fully communicating with the control force system. So we can see here, flow communication is good. It found one account, and it set up my flow connection. So we're going to add in a smart water valve next, and go to connections, and we're going to bind to that water valve. At this point, you've now integrated the Flow by Moen. It obviously has the same icon look as the original water agent. If you don't like that, there's also a couple others. There's a standard look, which looks something like that. And then there's also the water droplet look that looks like that. So with the Flow by Moen, you get the same features. You get leak alerts, offline, water on, water off, those kinds of things. But you also get a whole bunch of new alerts. So these are all the extra things that the Flow by Moen can give you. They have critical level events, info level events, and warning level events. And so you can actually go in here and really dial in and customize what the customer is going to receive an alert or trigger off of. So let's say on the small drip detected, we don't want to monitor that because maybe there's a water softener in the house and the nightly pressure test is just not triggering it correctly, and so every night they're getting their health test failed. Well, it failed because there's a slow leak going on with that humidifier, and until the Flow by Moen learns the home, that alert is going to keep happening. So maybe for the first 6 months, that is disabled. So those are all the different events that you can trigger your stuff off of. You can also change the way the alert levels of those alerts get sent. So maybe criticals, we always wanted to send at the alarm level. We always want to notify our service department, and we even wanted to say it on the touchscreens. If we go into the programming tab, if you click on the main master driver, you'll see all the different modes that are available in the house. By default, Flow by Moen has 3 modes of the house. Home mode, you're there. It will be very gracious in the amount of water that you can use. You can switch to away, and it will still allow water to come through, but it'll be very, very low. Like if you were to leave a faucet on for 30 seconds or so, it would turn it off automatically. And sleep is a feature that basically puts the Flow by Moen to sleep. So the Flow by Moen will not trigger alerts if it's in sleep. This could be useful if you're filling up a hot tub, maybe you have a pond filler, a swimming pool system, something of that nature where you need to use a large amount of water in a small amount of time, and you don't want it using that spike in water as part of its learning algorithm, or really get alerts from it. So those are what the 3 events do. When you're on the the device driver, you get handles for all those events that we just talked about. One of the cool things that we did with this driver is, even if under here we said small drip detected and we said to not monitor the alert, this event will still get triggered. So what this just says, hey, we're going to notify the customers, push notification, or we're going to send an email. But if you need to do discrete programming for something, you can still do those here. So from the action side of things, you can control the valve, obviously. If you had multiple valves, they would all pop up here. So you would choose which one you want to control, and then you want to turn it on, turn it off, or toggle. So you can also set the location mode. So you can say, okay, my house, and I want the mode to go to sleep. So something like that. And these lists are all dynamic. So in the future, if there were more modes that appeared, they would just appear into these slots. So the third thing we added was this set sleep for X minutes. So we're going to say, okay, our house, we're going to bypass, for 30 minutes. So maybe we have a gardener that's going to come out on every Thursday and he's going to water all the plants outside for 45 minutes. Well, there's probably going to be a spike if I'm away, and then thus you're going to have the water shut off. So this is a way you could give them a keypad push or maybe a doorbell button on the outside of the house, and you can mute alerts very easily with this feature. So those are the big things. The different, I guess, kind of the differences. Now, if you're a dealer and you're wanting to sell different water systems, the big difference I think between the Flow by Moen and doing a CNS system is Flow by Moen is going to give you a lot better analytics on your water. It's going to tell you pressure, temperature, flow rate. I mean, it's just going to give you a whole bunch of more features. But with those features comes the requirement of it being cloud-based. So if you have a house that's out in the cabins or something, it's cloud-based communication is a concern of yours, then I would maybe even go for the CNS water valve. The water valve system is entirely Zigbee, so the control force system is actually telling the unit to turn off. In the CNS system, the Zigbee water sensor is actually tripping the control for our driver is then saying, okay, when this trips, turn off the valve. So this is cool because it's local. It also has its caveats that it is Zigbee. So you must have a good mesh. And obviously if your Zigbee mesh is down, the water's not going to turn off. So both have their strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, that was, I'm going to have Adam here. He's here and he's going to discuss some of the marketing stuff with the drivers.
All right, so just as with all our drivers, if you want any features added to them, we're always taking any requests or any additional questions that you might have after this webinar. These can be submitted at the Driver Central help desk at help.drivercentral.com, or they can be submitted directly to drivers@cinegration.com. So additionally, if you wish, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be posting all of our webinars and additional videos there. You're going to see this webinar probably early next week or at the end of this week posted on there as well in case you need a review. And after the webinar, we're going to be sending a quick survey. Please be as honest as possible. We're looking for all kinds of constructive criticism to make our webinars better for you. And one last thing is that Control 4 is changing, or I guess starting their webinars at the same time that we've been running them on Thursday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time or 9 a.m. Pacific Time, their time. So we're going to be changing the webinar time in the upcoming weeks. Please be on the lookout in the sign-up email. We're going to let you know what the next time is going to be on the webinar. And I believe that is all.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to either send them in the chat now, or you can always send us an email. If you have design questions of how to best utilize our drivers or utilize some of the newer technologies that we've been coming out with in your homes, no problems. You just give us an email, send us an email, and we'll try to help you out. Yeah, I think we're getting more efficient with these. We're down about 15 minutes as opposed to 30. So with that, we're going to close this out, and I'd like to thank you guys for checking out our drivers, and have a good day.